What's up, everybody? Welcome to Dirt to Whiskey with Mike and Billy. How are you today, Mike?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
It's great to be here having another episode. So, um, you know, this is Chris, Adventure Trail Team. We'll throw that Instagram up at the end of the episode. Actually, I usually do the introduction to whiskey, but you know what? Chris has a little bit more knowledge than I do on the subject, and he's actually brought a number of bottles. So it's going to be a little bit of a adventure.
Well, you guys got
Chris?
a whiskey flight going?
Yeah, we
Got a
do.
little flight, a little
Yeah.
Oh,
comparison.
Yeah. I mean, that's the sucky part of having you remote is, you don't get to sit here and enjoy the bourbon with us. What are you drinking? Actually, let's start with that. What are you drinking
oh,
tonight?
I got some of Woodbridge.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not terrible. It's a
Not
good
great.
it's a
Not
good week
terrible.
it's a good weekday go-to, I guess.
Nice. So what's we have our Glencairn glasses here. What is this?
Okay, so this is well, I'm gonna go with the backstory. So every once in a while, I'll find these unicorns, um, and I came across this one, probably 3 bottles of the same thing about must have been about 10 years ago, and I've been very, um, I guess, frugal with when I'm drinking it, and so I went to the other. This is the last of the 3 bottles. It's a Jefferson's Presidential Select. It's an 18-year-old. It was uh it was bottled in 1991. So it was in an original Stitzenweller barrel. It's a regular bourbon, but it doesn't have any rye to it. It's all a malted wheat, and I think most of the special things about this, it's not bottled in bond, but it's a pretty tough to find bottle, and after you taste it, I think you'll see why. It's pretty smooth.
Yeah, it's really smooth. Caramely.
Yeah. One thing that I like to do, Mike, because some of these can be. This one isn't so bad. I think it's 94%. I'm sorry, 94 proof. Um, so one thing that always is helpful for me, rather than take it in the nose where you feel all the alcohol, is breathing it in through the mouth, and then it comes through the nose, and it doesn't burn quite as bad.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, and it just doesn't give you the burn, but
It's a little
you get
sweeter.
you get the whole bouquet.
That's a trip.
That's real. That's actually really, really good. So
Pro
this
tip.
bottle, it was bottled or casked in 91.
It was bottled in 91.
So if it was,
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's wrong. It was distilled in 91.
okay, so 18 years in the cask. It came out of the cask around 2009, 2010. That's actually really good. What does this bottle trade for nowadays?
I think you could probably find it on this. Well, it's only available secondary, so it's probably a little over between $1,800 and $2,400.
Oh God,
So I
almost
didn't
as
pay.
expensive as gas,
I
but
I didn't pay for that. I think at the time it was selling for about $90, and so I bought all 3 of them, knowing that it was a something that wasn't around anymore. So this is from the original Stitzenweller, which does not exist anymore. They're in a new brick house, so yeah, it's just one of those bottles you'll never see again.
so we're gonna enjoy this one glass of it and then put the cork back in.
Oh yeah,
Well, it's a shame that you're
yeah.
I
Billy,
know.
I wish I
1,400
could
miles
taste you on
away.
this.
Man, it would be cheaper for me to fly down there and sit with you guys than it would to buy a bottle.
No kidding. So cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Let's show everybody the bottle. So since we are putting this up on YouTube now, I'm not really sure how well that's going to come out, but you know, very, very sweet. It definitely has a caramel taste to it. Definitely very smooth. Not really spicy at all. So
Yeah, because there's no rye in it. It's
so
all
so no
corn and wheat.
pepper, no peppery, no nothing. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's what percent corn do you know?
Okay, this one is You know what? I had the mash bill. I think I brought it with me.
Oh, we're going expert now.
Yeah.
This is why I didn't introduce the what we were drinking.
So it's right at 51. It's right at 51 corn, and then the rest is all wheat. So it's pretty much a split.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So aside from being a bourbon aficionado, your Instagram is Adventure Trail Team. So I guess let's dive into that first. What does that entail? Because you've done Jeep runs. I've been on your Jeep runs for a while, and you actually put on a pretty good program with that. How did that come about?
I mean, I've been a Jeep enthusiast for a long time, and it wasn't until, gosh, I think it was about 2016 or it was 2016, after working with you and Dan at one of the off-road shops. We just kind of started thinking about the concept of I think at the time Dan lost his trail guide, and he was just kind of fishing around asking if I wanted to start doing it. And I wasn't really good at the trail guide portion of it, but I was pretty good at making food and entertaining people. So
Yeah, you are.
yeah. So that's kind of where it all began. And and then, as time happened, there was a lot of evolution in how I approached guiding a group of anywhere from 6 to 30 Jeeps. And in one case, we've done even more than that. I mean, I think my biggest group has been about well, we did the one where we had multiple guides, but which was over 200. But probably 36 was the most Jeeps that I've done.
Yeah, that's a lot of Jeeps. That's a lot of Jeeps for me, and that's got to be probably a little bit of a challenge to manage. And I know, Billy, you hate wheeling with large groups of people, don't you?
Oh, it's been so much fun. So much fun. I don't know how many runs I've left in the first hour when too many people have shown up. It's tough to keep that many people going in the same direction, getting over obstacles, not getting out of their cars to take pictures. Yeah. I'm not
Yeah,
good with the
and
big groups.
one thing that we've done to kind of combat that is, this whole thing has kind of been an evolution. And when Adventure Off-Road started, we kind of conceptualized a few different changes to how we did the runs. And initially, we started off with 4 guides. We were doing 3 trips a month to get smaller groups. And the dealership had to be financially savvy as well too. So we adapted that and changed that to where we would do 1 run a month, but now we do it 2 guides. So now it's not just me on the trail, it's also Mark Hale, who is a fantastic trail guide, and um, does a great job. We work well together on teaching everything from etiquette and safety to um, helping the rigs when they get into trouble and keeping the group moving along. I mean, we kind of break the groups up into a more experienced group, less experienced group, and then we take those 2 groups through at different paces. So it keeps everything running. We meet up at lunch, we have a nice lunch, and then towards the end of the trail, we'll that normally ends pretty quickly, where we show the final wrap up of airing up and getting back on the road and making sure everyone's Jeep or is road safe.
Does someone still have to jump in Mike's Jeep and help him get over the hard parts, or is he able to drive himself now?
You know what? That's interesting because I haven't wheeled with Mike in a while.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
here we go.
Every guest, the same story. It's so weird.
I miss him out there.
Yeah. So do I.
Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, the group thing isn't really my thing. So, it serves its purpose. It's for us, it's about getting, customers together, getting people out, getting them on the trail, showing them how the Jeep works, showing them the different fundamentals of wheeling. But for me, it's, you actually do a better job than most people. But when you get 15, 20 people, it just becomes, it has the potential to just turn into a disaster. But now that I think about it, we haven't really had any issues at all that I can think of. Really, we've had, like flat tires, this and that, but we haven't had any big oopsies. Except you had one guy who his Jeep got a little sleepy and went on its side, right?
Yeah, that was on the Rubicon Trail, where that happened. And
Who was that? I don't remember.
that was Brian.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And it was after, I mean,
Little too much throttle.
it was after 8 hours of being on the trail, and we were basically on the home stretch after the bridge, coming up to Rubicon Springs. And there's nothing that's overly difficult on the Rubicon Trail other than maybe the Soup Bowl and a couple other obstacles, but there's a lot of like, just difficult stuff, not
What
overly
were you
difficult.
already past the super narrow squeeze right there?
Yeah, we were.
Okay,
And we were actually coming into camp. We were after the bridge. So it was fatigue sets in. You got
sure.
8 hours on the trail. I mean, that trail just wears you down because there's maybe, I would say, 4 or 5 stretches that have more than 50 to 100 yards of just small rocks. I mean, everything else is pretty big. You're getting tossed around all day. And so I think it just kind of wore him down. And he probably had a little bit of a bad decision on that. But at the same time, the good news is we were able to get it up on its side. Luckily, I was carrying a couple quarts of transmission fluid with us, and because that's the only thing that really locks up if it lays down too long. And got the Jeep going again. And he had to get a new windshield, and luckily he did have a cage on it, so everyone was safe. No one hurt themselves. So it was a pretty safe outcome after all.
Good. Do you
Yeah.
ever have any damage on the Rubicon, Mike?
Not me, but it's good for business.
Yeah, I've ran the Rubicon a few times. Spend a few bucks when I get home.
Yeah, most of my customers do. So I think one year we had it where I think everybody was about a $5,000 bill when they got back.
Yeah, I think
So you're not alone.
I was close
You were
on the
close.
on the last one after tanking the drive shaft and I think both,
What was
right?
that, the Rubicon?
Yeah, the the JE reels. I smashed
Oh
them
yeah.
both.
Was that on your JK or on your
Yeah,
JL?
on the JL.
Okay.
No, the
That
JK
JL
actually I
was a
never.
hard life.
Oh, the JLs. Poor Jeep, man. Yeah, the JK
Yeah.
actually went through there twice, and I didn't break anything, and then took the JL and smashed everything.
Isn't that weird? How you
I
can
went
run
in.
something a bunch of times. Was it all torn
Yeah,
up?
but it was super torn up. It was a busy weekend, and the JL ran a lot heavier too.
That's true.
Yeah,
The
for sure.
JK had that Hollywood freeway commute though, so that was its
Yeah,
miles.
the
The
JK
JL
had a
was
lot of steel on
miles.
it, but I ran it with no top, no doors, and a light amount of gear. And the JL, I ran fridge, top, boxes, everything.
That's right. You drove up there with no top, and then you took the doors off, put the doors in the hotel.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the move because you didn't get door damage.
right.
How did that go though?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
Not too cold, not too anything, huh?
no. Yeah, the only time it was cold is when you leave, like roll out 5 a.m. But once you're on the trail, man, the sun's beating on you the whole time. So I had like the spider web shade on the JK. It was
Yeah,
nice. Yeah,
yeah.
the JL sucks because the fan just hums the whole time you're out there.
Well, I mean, it does. It does weigh 6,000 pounds, so it does have to try and keep itself cool.
Yeah.
So Billy, the times you've done the Rubicon, did you go straight through to Rubicon Springs, or did you stop at Buck Island? Where'd you camp?
So this last time I went is the first time we stopped that I ever stopped at Buck Island and we stayed a night there. But the first two runs I did really big way of life runs and we went straight through to Rubicon Springs.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
the
what was
first
your
time I
time?
ran it was like a 30 Jeep group.
Okay.
Yeah, and we still made it in dusk. So it wasn't dark yet, but we made pretty good time.
All those guys are heavy hitters, though,
Yeah.
right?
Pretty much everybody knew what they were doing. There was a few breaks though, because a couple Dana 30s with us. So we had a few breaks, but the second time was pretty fast. This last time we did it too fast. I think we made it to Buck, then we made it to Rubicon Springs, and then we were up Cadillac and off the mountain by midday. So I like spending 2 days at Rubicon Springs.
Just hanging out camping.
Yeah. So the first day you don't remember if you bring enough whiskey. The second day you kind of just ease back into wheeling again. But yeah, I mean, that's a trip you got to do, Mike.
Yeah. I thought about trailering my Jeep up, but I don't know. Two doors are exhausting on the highway. You know it, I know it. That's a long drive. What is that? An 8-hour drive?
It's more than
Yeah,
that.
it's like 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've only driven up and driven back. I've never trailered. And,
It's because you're a
it's,
man.
yeah. But yeah, it's a beautiful drive. I mean, I love the Eastern Sierras. And when you get into that area, I mean, time just doesn't mean anything to me. I could drive for hours, in the Eastern Sierra part of California. It's beautiful.
You go up there all the time, don't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Even not for wheeling. I mean, there's a lot of times where I just go up to camp and fish. Yeah, love that area. Been going up there since I was 4.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You're pretty avid at camp. I mean, Jeep thing aside, you're usually either with the Jeep or you're with the truck going up to the Eastern Sierras or going somewhere with a fishing pole.
Yeah, yeah. No, fishing is definitely probably my first love. And of that, probably the last 15 years I've kind of broken away from like conventional fishing and just strictly fly fishing. Uh, and just getting really into that, tying a lot of my own flies and learning the different rigging and setups to, fly in different to fish in different applications. It's a blast. It's really good time, and you essentially could be fishing on a 4-weight rod or a 3-weight rod on most of the creeks. And when you hook up to a 15-20 inch trout, I mean, that thing's taking drag. It's you're fighting it for 20-30 minutes. So it's a pretty fun deal.
I think it's fun to
Nice.
watch. I'm not much into fishing, but we went to a few good spots in the last couple years, and we would watch people get up super early, get out and wade in the water and fly fish. It looks cool. It's just not my bag, but I like watching it for sure.
Yeah, yeah. It's once you get past the frustrating parts of avoiding tangles and knots, and learning how to properly set up your whatever application you're fishing, whether it's Euro nymphing or dry fly fishing or droppers or doing indicator fishing. Once you figure that out, it all falls into place, and it takes a lot of the hassle out of it, and you start enjoying it.
Yeah, I,
There,
I end up doing the deep sea fishing for like tuna, yellowtail, stuff like that. Being on the boat, it's kind of weird. I've never done freshwater fishing, except for stuff with as a kid, but never really done the freshwater fishing. And I know Billy, I don't think you do any fishing at all, so
nope, not me.
it's a good skill to have in the bag.
Yeah, you're up
I
there in the
know.
Pacific Northwest. I mean, gosh,
Think
Billy,
of
I'm gonna come visit you. I'll fish with you.
Dude, if you get out here before Mike does, I'm gonna punch Mike right in the mouth. So
um, okay, well, speaking of punching in the mouth, we're moving on in the land of bourbon over here. So now we're drinking. What are we drinking now? What's
Okay,
our?
well, first of all, I gave you a pretty hefty pour there.
You
Sorry
sure
about that.
did.
Yeah,
You Ubered over here, right?
yeah, I did. So I'm safe to
Yeah,
drive.
this isn't going to get as rowdy as our St. Patrick's Day episode where Nick and I put down what is that, a fifth of a Jameson in the span of an hour and an hour. So,
yeah, that was brutal. But I mean, it was fun for Kaylee and I.
oh yeah, no, it was a good time. So, um, this is I guess the order you want to pour these in.
Yeah, no, it is, and the only reason why is because I'm anticipating, and I haven't had the third bottle we're going to try today. So I'll kind of tell you why we're doing these. So McKenna Henry, and that's the or Henry McKenna. It's the 10-year bottle and bond, and it's The nice thing about that bottle is it has the same mash bill as this one, which is the Evan Williams Bottle and Bond. The only thing is this is basically a 4-year, because that's the minimum requirement to meet Bottle and Bond, and this one here is the 10-year. So I think
Okay.
it's gonna compare. This should be a little bit smoother. That one might have a little bit of a bite, but
So
we'll
same
try it out.
same distillery,
Yeah, same distillery.
same mash bill,
Yep.
literally the same. The only difference is the McKenna spends an extra 6 years in the cask.
Well, and also it might have priority on where it sits in the rick house. So
Okay.
yeah,
So it may be up there towards the top where it's getting the most flavor out of
or
it.
actually it's going to be more towards the bottom,
Really?
where there's more variation of temperature, because that's what gives it the most flavor. Is
I thought the most variation came at the top where it gets hot in the top of the
well, it gets
house.
hot there, but the fluctuation happens more on the lower barrels.
Interesting.
Yeah,
All right. Well, you learn something every day. So there you go. All right.
yeah. So that's probably the biggest difference between. But other than that, it's basically the same distilled item that goes into both those barrels, and they're both 100% oak. Have the same char. I think they have the same char. There might be a variance in the
So
length of char.
the McKenna is a single barrel. So everything in the bottle comes from one barrel, where the Evan Williams may be
Yeah,
a
it's
mixture of
blended.
barrels.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Very good.
But it's required that it's if it is a mixture of barrels, they have to be from the same fall season, from the same distilled season.
Okay.
So, or fall or spring. So it can't, you can't mix a spring and a fall distilled season together.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
All right.
I'm still over here with the Woodbridge reserved. So
The 17.99 Target special.
it was $40. All right. Alcohol's expensive up here.
Yeah. Let's see. What do we get?
So what is that, Billy? What's the compound on that, or what's the mash bill? Do you know? Or which
$40.
bottle is it? Which bottle is it? Do you know?
$30.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the $30 bottle that I got charged $40 for.
Oh, okay.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
I don't know the ingredients. Honestly, I buy it because I don't feel guilty if I decide to mix with it or ice it up a little bit. It's not a good one. I ran out of the Blantons. You know how it goes. You buy
That
a
one's
good
got
one.
that one's got a little bit more little bit more bite than the Jefferson.
Oh, for sure.
Initially, I get it's a little sweet, but I get a hint of banana on this one instead of caramel.
I get some cherry too.
Yeah, it's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that
have
one's
a bottle of McKenna, but I haven't opened it yet.
I would say that McKenna's probably got more complexity and layers of flavor than the Jefferson did. But the Jefferson was definitely a little smoother.
The Jefferson's a lot older, though. I mean, that's the thing. Like the way brown waters come in the last, I don't know, decade
Yeah.
that they've really started playing with stuff when they distill this stuff rather than what they used to. Yeah, it's definitely really really good. So it's going to be interesting to see how it stacks up against the 4-year.
So I have a
So
question for you, Chris. So you ran across these bottles, you said 10 years ago, right? And there was
Yeah.
something inside that you knew, man, I haven't seen these. I'm going to pick these up. What is it that so I'm a whiskey novice, right? I listen to Mike cuz Mike knows a lot. I just drink it. But when you are looking for, say, a novelty whiskey, you want to buy someone an awesome wedding gift, whatever, you want to buy a nice high-end whiskey. With social media, with Instagram, it's easy to see like Whistle Pig, right? Whistle Pig comes out with limited edition in big bottles, or Blanton's comes out with some small batch stuff like the one I had. What was it that you saw in those bottles, or what could people like me that just enjoy a good whiskey look for, almost like, like a hunt? Like now we're kind of getting into shopping whiskeys.
Okay, so I would start off with Bottle and Bond. If it's a true Bottle and Bond, well, it has to be if it says it. Bourbon, then because as far as I know, the only Bottle and Bonds there are is I don't think it's available in Tennessee whiskey. It has to be either bourbon or corn whiskey. I think there's a Bottle and Bond brandy, and even a bottle and bond gin, I believe. But yeah, if it's bottle and bond, it's a bourbon, which means that it has to have 51% corn, and then there could be any variation of ratio between um, wheat and grain and rye. So if you go for a bottle and bond, that's probably going to be the best bang for the buck. So for instance, this one here, Evan Williams, bottle and bond, distilled at Heaven Hill, 14.99. And
Okay.
so it's a great deal, and we're gonna taste it right now. I've never had it before, but
Nice.
Just because it's expensive doesn't mean it's going to be good.
Right. But I
Yeah.
mean, kind of what I was wondering was you buy a bottle 10 years ago for 90 bucks, but now they're
yeah,
trading at almost 2,500 bucks. That's a not saying I'm getting in the whiskey business, but that is kind of cool that you can make an investment because you knew this was like a pretty hard to get whiskey or
yeah.
bourbon. And then, it appreciates the way it did. I was just wondering what you knew about that whiskey 10 years ago that would make
So
it shoot up
mainly
so much.
the one thing right here where it says Stitzelweller barrels. So that makes it a unicorn because anything in Stitzelweller nowadays is not from the same era as that. It's a new cooperage, and uh, there was just something really special about the way that they prepare their barrels.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's like next level stuff. That like,
Right.
yeah, I don't even know that. So
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of what I was getting at is like you knew what to do. You knew kind of like what you were looking for. I have a malfunctions.
picture in picture.
Yeah. But yeah, you kind of knew what you were looking for or you knew enough about it to find
Yeah, and you know
some
what? The
value in that.
just like anything else, the more you know about it, the more there is to learn.
Sure.
It's I mean, I'm honestly, I'm a hobbyist at this. I enjoy it. I like comparing flavor notes on different bottles. Like I was really looking forward to same distillery, same mash bill. I mean, tonight's going to be a good night comparing these two. It's just I kind
For
of geek
sure.
out over that stuff.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like I said, for me being so new to it, of like trying to find out more info, now with the internet and now with IG and now there's just so many brands coming at you and so much
Yeah.
little information and like really trying to learn them all and understand what it is it's talking about. It just gets overwhelming if you don't know key things to look for.
Well, one of the things I really enjoy doing is I love like older American history and just the part that bourbon or any whiskey played in the United States in the earlier days was pretty incredible. And some of the ups and downs that it had, and the reason the bottle and bond was even thought of or put into law. um, it's pretty amazing the story behind it. So I just kind of dig into that and go down rabbit holes of learning about that stuff. And as you do that, you start, experiencing more, um, history and different people that have made such a mark in history. And then you start figuring out the different brands that they were affiliated with originally. And some of these mash bills are, basically 100 years old or older, and it's the same thing that's been working for them for a long time. Probably the biggest difference is when you're in Tennessee now, the water isn't what it used to be, 100 years ago, where the water was probably the most special reason why a lot of the Tennessee whiskey was as good as it was in the day. And now there's obviously a lot of purification done to try and match that, but that natural limestone water was delicious.
The Jack Daniels distillery is still uses water from their natural spring. So they're, as far as I know, they're one of the ones that still does, but you know, definitely technology's changed. But that's a good point. I never thought about that. That if you have um if the water, obviously, as like places in Tennessee and Kentucky, stuff changes, cities grow, water isn't what it used to be. That's an because that's the main ingredient in any of this stuff is water. So that I never really thought of that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
Yeah.
what's your trail whiskey of choice? Like if you're going out with the boys, it's going to be a camping trip, and you're going to pick something on the way out.
Okay, so if it's non-drinking or non bourbon or whiskey people that just kind of tap into it, I'll go something lower percent like a 80 proof. Basil Hayden is a nice one. It's not super expensive, but it's pretty easy to drink. It's really smooth, and that one always kind of it's a crowd pleaser. So that's normally the bottle I'll do when I go on trail.
I don't even think I've
Um,
had that. Have you,
yeah,
Mike?
Yeah, I've had basil. Basil is really good.
yeah.
What about Elijah Craig? That's a good one too.
Elijah Craig's really good, and
That's a
it's
good $30 bottle right there.
especially if you could find the bottle and bond of it, or even some of the single barrel stuff. It's really
Yeah.
good. Yeah, yeah. And then it was funny, because back in February when Mike and I were making plans to go out to Hammers and help out. I'm thinking, okay, Mike's coming. I got to pick a nice, interesting bottle to bring along and hopefully get him a little bit inebriated on. So I brought an Old Forester Prohibition style,
Yep.
and yeah, Mike almost polished the whole bottle off. Mike
Yeah.
drinks a lot.
You and I.
Yeah.
What do you mean me?
Well, I mean, I had some. You're right.
You had plenty, and
Yeah.
you were making quesadillas for us. So
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was a fun night.
yeah,
so
yeah. We had
can you explain to people when you're making food for Mike the weird shit that Mike eats that nobody else does, like eggless breakfast burritos?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
Right?
interesting too. Yeah,
I think you've made more breakfast burritos for me than most people. So
yeah.
yeah, you
Is,
can go ahead.
is
And
it
take
even
that
a
one.
breakfast? Is it even a breakfast burrito if there's no
Uh,
eggs in it?
well, I mean, it's got bacon. Is bacon breakfast?
Yes,
Bacon's breakfast, but is it
Unless
the
you're
whole
having it in a
burrito?
salad. Yeah.
and it's
I mean, bacon's like the best part of salad too. So
it's that it's potato, cheese,
yeah,
tortilla,
cheese, tortilla.
salsa. I just don't see the need for egg.
So weird. I remember
Yeah.
one time I stopped and picked him up a breakfast burrito. First time I ever heard this. I'm like, I'm picking up burritos. I'm on my way to see you. And he's like, trying to explain to me he wants it with no egg. The lady at the drive-through looked at me like I was crazy. I don't know. That's my boy.
I
So
order breakfast skillets with no egg. Like I'll literally go to I have
What
a
is that,
restaurant.
cheese and vegetable?
Well, no, I have a restaurant I go to by the house and I get the country scramble with no egg.
just
As
hold the
bad as that
country.
sounds. So it's potatoes, ham, cheese, and like onion and country gravy. It's delicious. I don't need the eggs.
Yeah, that's so bizarre.
Yeah, but Chris, you do love to cook. You've cooked some pretty impressive stuff for us on the trail. Well, I remember one time we went up to Big Bear, and so I'm used. I mean, you and I have wheeled together plenty, Billy. It's like packed sandwiches and like bags of chips. Chris breaks out a grill. It's like 1 pound hamburgers, brownies, potato salad, um, cookies. Like it's like a full spread. It's the most ridiculous thing
And
ever.
usually it's for cooking like 30 or more. So it's a bit of a thing to pull off. But after you've done it a few times, it all happens pretty easy.
So, in all fairness, though, the bulk of Mike and I's wheeling was before having a fridge in your Jeep was like standard.
Yeah.
Right.
So, we used to do a lot of rock crawling. And so we would have everything in a cooler and you brought good food and then your cooler would dump over and there went 40 bucks of fine dining.
Yeah.
So our sandwiches could just sit on the dash until we were hungry.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we wheel Big Bear in the snow a lot or just up there, so everything stayed cool anyways. So now everybody's got a scuttle and a fridge, and you get some good food out there.
You don't have a scottle, do you, Chris?
No, I don't. No scottles here. I just I honestly like most of the time when I'm just wheeling with my buddies and it's you know, uh 2 to 4 or 5 Jeeps. Well, I have this Coleman griddle that's probably 35 years old and the thing works like a champ, and I
Yep.
cook everything on it.
Yep. Hand to
Yeah,
God right
yeah,
there. The Coleman stove.
yeah. And it's not even a stove. It's a griddle with like one burner that just goes. It doesn't even have burner. I mean, it just has a single burner
I'm
and
trying
one
to remember
griddle.
what it looks like because I know you have the.
I have a stove too.
Yeah, I know
Yeah,
you have the stove. I'm trying to remember the
and,
griddle.
and I have a griddle top for that. But the thing with the Coleman griddle is the griddle actually nests really well on the unit to where it doesn't like move around or anything. It's pretty stable. Yeah, and I'll do everything on that from breakfast to lunch to dinner. And
You know what almost changed my mind on the Scottle was when we were at KOH and Wes and God, who
um,
was his buddy? They were cooking venison
yeah, venison burgers. Yeah,
with jalapeno, garlic, onion, like, and I'm just like looking at it. They put the cheese on it, and I'm
and he
just
did a
like,
Jack Daniel sauce too. I thought.
yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
just sitting there going, oh, I'm like, it's getting close. I could do that. I could probably get close to with my griddle on my Coleman stove, but man, let me tell you, all the juice was like running down to the middle of the Scottle, and they're like soaking it up with the bread and putting it on the buns, and I'm just like, oh man, it's pretty good. I
Yeah,
love camp food.
that was a pretty good meal. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
Wes took care of us on that one.
yeah. What Wes did take care of us, and it was reflected in the discount on his bill when he just picked up his Jeep.
Oh, did he?
Wow.
So Billy, to your point about not really enjoying larger groups when you go out and wheel and especially like the organized groups and stuff. So one thing that's just kind of happened without trying to make it happen is you develop some regular customers that do some pretty nice builds through Adventure Off Road. And the way I look at it, it's my job to wine and dine them for being loyal repeat customers.
Sure.
um, which you should have been because I know you've had some hefty bills over at Adventure Off Road too.
Yeah, Mike, what did we tally up right before I left? Where were we at?
I can look. I'll actually look up your customer number tomorrow and see what your spend is if you really want me to.
It was in the 30s. It was somewhere
Oh,
ridiculous.
I think it's probably more than that, not counting the price of the Jeeps, which you didn't buy from me.
Yeah, I didn't buy them from you. So, yeah, I think we were about 30s.
I'll look it up and I'll text you and I'll ask you if you want to know the number.
Yeah. Maybe we can do a poll and have everybody guess the number, and the closest to the number gets something.
And that wasn't even retail price either, because you pay like the friends and
Yeah.
family / sponsor hashtag tag your sponsor. So
Right?
So back to that point where you go out with these guys, some of them become pretty good wheelers. I mean, after 2 or 3 years of you know once a month hitting these trails, and every once in a while I'll do a uh just kind of like I'll call up two or three of the regular customers and just do a just kind of a friends trail run. And these guys are getting good, and it's to the point where you never have to spot them. Lots of times they're running your tail. Lots of times they're spotting their friends through it. And you just kind of rely on this network of everyone that you've taught and you've worked with on how to get through a trail well. I mean, they're all contributing, and it's helping that group move through at a pretty decent pace. So you'd be surprised. I mean, when we do uh like the what was last run, I think we did the last intermediate run we did was Cougar Buttes. I mean, we hit a lot of trails, a lot of obstacles, and everyone moved through it. I mean, we probably did we did cakewalk, we did bullfrog, we did uh a few of the other obstacles too. We probably fit like 5 different obstacles in there and done by 2:30, 3 o'clock.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cakewalk and bullfrog, man, those are staples. I think I've
Oh
ran
yeah.
those over 15 years in like 5 different vehicles.
Yeah, and customers just the sense of accomplishment they feel after they've tackled some nice notches or gone over some decent ridges. They get pretty satisfied, and you see that on their face.
Sure.
And you know, um, just this last weekend, actually on Sunday, I had a large group that was planned to go out to uh, Last Chance Canyon over by Red Rock off of the 14. Do you know that area?
I do. I know exactly where you're talking about.
Yeah.
Last Chance
So
Canyon's really short, but super technical, right?
No, it's not that. Well, I mean, there's the V notch that's a little technical,
If
but
you
Oh,
there's a bypass for it,
yeah,
right?
there is a bypass. You don't have to do
That
it.
was the one that Tony that we were gonna do, but it was only the 3 of us back there pre-running it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That one that had all the, hard top glass laying on
yeah,
the ground,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So we
okay.
did
So I
that,
don't know that one.
and we were supposed to have quite a few people on that run, and I think a lot of people dropped off because of the gas prices. Um, and we ended up with just a group of 4 Jeeps that were on it, and there was this newbie guy who was pretty ambitious. He bought a brand new Rubicon Recon edition. Comes stock out of the off the sales floor with 35s. All the bells and whistles of Rubicons, and um, I think they even have um, a sturdier knuckle to them too. Do you know if that's
I'm not sure what all comes. I know the Recon comes with a bunch of stuff, but I don't know if they changed the actual housing. They may have.
yeah?
The
Because
the JKs, the Recon had the stronger housing.
That's
okay,
right, huh?
So I'm sure the
yeah.
JL does too.
So
Yeah.
I think it does. I mean, he was saying it was listed on the bill, and I mean he definitely paid for it. So, um, but this guy first time out, on the dirt in his Jeep, and he didn't really have much experience off roading, and this trail, it could, I mean, it has some intermediate sections, but it's really a beginner trail. By the time he was done with it, I mean, he was high-fiving me, fist bumps on every little obstacle, and just taking on the toughest stuff we could find, which, isn't really that difficult out there, but for a brand new first timer,
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
he
He had a
was,
blast, I'm
yeah,
sure.
he just felt like such a sense of accomplishment, and that's kind of the thing that I get excited about is getting people hooked on this sport, because it's tough to break into. If you go out and you buy a Jeep, you don't know what trails to go on. You don't know what navigation to use. You don't know, which equipment to purchase first. And it's pretty nice being a resource for a lot of people and getting them into that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm all for it. Big groups have their place. I love the trail runs. I think it's one, it's great for business. Two, it's great for educating people on how to use what they got. Me personally, I just stay away from them. That's just
Yeah.
me. But we were all there, right? We would always
Everybody
get
started somewhere. I did,
we
you
w-
did, everybody did. Yeah.
we ran some pretty big groups, especially in Cleghorn in the mid 2000s, right, Mike?
Oh,
Listen, it wasn't that much fun, but we were
no.
there, right? We would be on those
Well,
forums, and everybody would
the
be meeting up.
JK Forum, you
Yeah,
remember that? You remember
yeah,
JK Forum, and we went to go run Holcomb Creek, and there was that one guy that was, like, lead footing his Jeep trying to jump the gatekeeper because he
yeah.
couldn't crawl over it, and that's when you and I basically said, "Yeah, I think we should probably just go
Just
do
go
our own thing."
just go somewhere else. Yeah,
Yeah, so, I mean, everybody's gotta start somewhere. The nice thing is,
absolutely.
Chris, is you and Mark run a pretty tight group, and your guys' instruction, your guys' communication, your organization, um, it makes it actually go pretty smooth. And Last Chance Canyon is one of my favorite runs that we've done. Did you take everyone through Burrow Schmidt Tunnel?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We did that half-mile hike, and yeah, it was pretty nice. There wasn't too much dust in the tunnel this time, and
Nice.
yeah, we all had we broke out our uh face masks, and our uh
Is the cabin still there?
yeah, cabin's still there.
Is it still pretty much intact, or has it
It's the
been?
same way, but there's a lot more graffiti on it.
Oh,
It's
that's
a
a
shame. Yeah, it's a
shame.
shame what they've done to that.
It used
Um
to be so remote that nobody could get back there. So, have you ever looked up the story of Burrow Schmidt, Billy?
No.
So, I mean, you've passed Red Rock Canyon, right? On your way
Yes.
up to 395. So, there's a tunnel, and this crazy old codger decided, for all these mining companies, instead of having to go out and around the mountains to get out of where they were doing all the mining, he was going to dig a tunnel through the mountain,
Hand dig a tunnel.
hand dig a tunnel through the mountain
Okay, so
to,
I have heard this, yes. But go ahead and
yeah,
tell it. It's a good story.
yeah. So the guy basically spent most of his life,
It was 38 years of digging.
38 years of digging, and the tunnel goes for probably a quarter of a mile in a straight line, and then it comes to a T. Then it goes 250 feet to the left before he realized he dug 250 feet in the wrong direction. Dug the right, he dug to the right, dug his way out of the mountain, but by the time he finished the tunnel, they'd already built a road around the mountain. So his whole idea of having a toll I mean, it's barely big enough that I can stand up in it. So I don't know what he was thinking, but he was going to charge people to walk through the mountain. And you go out and you go to the right and you look, and it's like a 300-foot drop straight down. So what he was planning, I don't know. But anybody who's out there at Red Rock Canyon, Last Chance Canyon, if
It's
you can
near Jawbone too. That's another good
yeah, it's
marker.
out by Jawbone's out there too. If you can get to it and go through the tunnel, I mean, just to look at what this guy did, it's pretty crazy. He dug this thing by hand, and then he got old, and I think he had to end up leaving that. Basically, he ended up getting old, and he went to some retirement home and died.
Yeah,
And
I think he pretty much left that area back in the late 30s.
yeah. So, if you go through it, you can stand up and walk through it, and it's pretty interesting to see. But the desert's full of weird people, as you and I both know, and he was one
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
So
his,
Actually, when
I was
oh,
just
go
gonna
ahead.
say that trail we were talking about. It's the one that has like the two most popular obstacles are V Notch, and then it has a Graduation Hill. If you've heard of that,
Yes,
yeah.
I have.
V
Yeah,
notch.
I was thinking of the wrong spot, but yes, I have heard of Last Chance and then Graduation Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's our next bottle, Chris? The Evan
I
Williams.
think we're going. Oh, you finished. Nice. That was a big pour.
That was a big pour.
You get a big boy, Mike. Good job.
I'm gonna take care of you on this next pour.
Well, don't forget, I have 2 bars in my house, and if you want to taste anything else before you go, don't go too much.
Oh, but for Mike and I, it's end of month. You got to be somewhat coherent.
Actually, I'm actually ahead of the curve this month, so I kind of lightened it up, like you and I were talking, because I'm moving shops in 2 weeks. So, I've kind of started to wind things down.
So Billy, I follow you on Instagram and I see all the fun stuff you're doing up there in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, not so much in the cold months, but it looks like you reorganized your vehicles. You got a Land Cruiser, right?
I did, yeah.
I don't know much about that build. I mean, I think the last podcast you talked about it having an LS, and I mean, what are your plans for that? How are you using it this summer and spring?
So, really, the bulk of anything I've been doing is fixing things. It was kind of somebody else's Franken build, and we've been going through it and just fixing everything. So, we took the axles apart and built them back up, put brakes, got the LS running right, put a mountain hatch tailgate cover on it so I could cook and put the stoves up there.
I saw that. I didn't know Mountain Hatch made an FJ60
Dude, I
tailgate
didn't
cable.
either. And as soon as I saw it, I just hit the buy button. Thank God it
Yeah,
fit.
I wouldn't mind getting one for my Ram, but the problem is I still use my truck bed as a truck, and that thing gets super slippery when it gets wet, and I don't want
Yeah.
it to get damaged by dragging. I move stuff. I don't want to drag an axle housing across it and
Yeah, but
damage it.
I mean, it's pretty heavy duty and it's textured. I just like it because you can wipe it right off. And mine had like some old, the factory carpet was on there, but the backing was all warped. But we did put some switches in it. So we got the ARB locker working now, got a compressor, got the ARB fridge already wired up in there so we can plug it right in and get going. I don't, The problem is we don't have a lot of off-road shops this far north. If I could get into Canada, there's a lot of off-road shops, but here where I'm at in Bellingham, there's not. So I don't know if I break stuff, if I need parts. It's all through my shop, so it's one of those things where I just want to get everything working before I really start hammering on it. But the plans are just to make it a comfortable cruiser and get We have Mount Baker behind us. We have this place called Walker Valley. It's an OHV. It's about an hour below me. We're doing Overland Overland Expo, the PNW in a few months, so that'll be cool. But yeah, and then with gas prices and having an LS in that thing on 35s, it's a pig.
What kind of
Yeah.
mileage
So
does that thing actually get? I guess you two should compare what whose V8 gets better mileage.
well,
So
you're
Billy,
act
you go
you,
first.
you act like I have technology in my truck. First off,
You have an LS. It's
okay,
fuel.
that's
It's
the
V8. Okay, so what kind of mileage do you get?
I have no idea. It has a factory gas tank in it, so it holds like 27 gallons, and I
Okay,
fill it up every 2 weeks.
so basic math. I'm going to take you back to elementary school. Drive the cruiser 100, top the tank off, fill it till the brim till it clicks off. Drive 100 miles, fill it back up. Do the math. That's how you'll figure out your mileage.
Man, that's
So
work.
if it takes 4 gallons and you drive 100 miles, it's 25 miles a gallon. I
And
have
then
a
because
feeling
of
it's probably going to be about 12 to 14.
I would say on the highway, it's probably about that. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, listen, once it's up and running, it's a runner. On the low end, it uses gas, but it sounds
Mm,
nice.
I'm sure it does. Nothing sounds better than an LS except a Hemi.
Well, I mean, LSs are pretty sweet. I don't have anything to knock on those. I love
No,
LSs,
you can't.
but yeah, yeah, no, the Hemi was definitely probably the best upgrade I've done to that Jeep, and yeah, it's definitely gives you the torque and the horsepower you need. Gas, I mean, honestly, it probably uh might have. It's probably just slightly under what the stock engine would have been producing.
I would think
Uh,
it would be better.
yeah, I'm probably at about on highway. I'm sitting about 14 and a half. And then
Okay.
when you mix in a trail, I probably finish the day at about 12.
That's not bad.
No, not bad at all. But that was after the tune.
What was it doing before I got it
Oh,
tuned for you?
it was probably averaging about 9 miles per gallon. So that last tune picked up about 100 pound feet of torque at 3,500 RPMs, and improved my total. So I used to be able to get about 170 miles per tank,
Okay.
and now I'm getting about 220, 230.
Oh man,
Yeah,
more power and better gas
yeah,
mileage? Ooh, the
can't beat
world
that.
the world we live in today, huh?
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, too bad. Yeah, it's amazing what a tune would do. And I would be I bet if you could find an LS tuner up there, Billy, that they could probably crack into your ECU on that thing and do the same thing. Get you a little bit more power, get you a little bit better mileage.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get there. We'll see. I'm all over the place with it. I just
Right.
it's like everything else, but
I
the
guess
be
your dictation so I guess your usage you may have to back off a little bit of going as hard as I mean, you used to go pretty hard in the JL.
yeah, I don't think I'll do that on this. I mean,
No.
it's first of all, the body's pretty darn straight.
Yeah, you don't want to
So,
ruin that.
and
Did you
and
do sliders on that yet?
no, it's
That's
pretty
probably something that we should look at.
yeah, it's pretty tall too. It's gonna I would have to really be in the rocks to need them.
It has that 1980s Toyota super ridiculous breakover angle, right? Like you see
Yeah,
80s Toyota pickups and you could like get a pyramid underneath them before they actually touch.
yeah, it's pretty tall. It's pretty much a 6-inch lift on 35, so it's pretty up there. It's like it's tall enough that I'm like, this is a little too tall. But the guy that had it before me did that shackle flip. So there's not much. I mean, the leaves are almost flat as they are. There's not much lower I could go.
So they're Leafs front and rear then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it have a shackle reversal on the front?
Yes.
Okay, that was the big thing on those because they had the weirdest part about those is they had the shackles on the front of the frame and because I know you're not a technical guy, when you had the shackles on the front of the frame, when you would go into an obstacle, and the leaves would flatten out. It was trying to shove the axle into whatever you were trying to go over. So when you reverse it, it actually works backwards and helps roll you over obstacles.
Gotcha.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah, we'll see.
That thing can be dialed.
I'm gonna get it out to Walker soon, and then just go through the paces and see if anything's hitting. We put the alpha wheels on it so I could get off the spacers, which is really nice. Nice. See, I'm getting a little whiskeyed. My tongue's
Little
getting
whiskey, but
fat.
I think all
Yeah,
of us are.
Yeah.
yeah, my tongue's getting fat. But yeah, so I was able to put the alphas on it and get enough offset that I could get off the spacers the guy had.
What do you think, Mike? A little spicier? Definitely more heat.
Yeah, definitely more heat. It's amazing what 6 years in a barrel.
You good, bro?
Yeah, I'm good.
I
I'm
just
good.
wish I could
I'm
reach through
getting
the
good.
screen and hug you. Good. As long as someone's
Right.
there to take care of them.
Yeah. So what I don't know. I mean, what's the next what's your next trip, Chris?
All right. So right now, even though I have a intermediate run in April where we're most likely probably going to do either, depending on the snow condition, probably Gold Mountain, or if not, maybe Fisher Mountain out in Johnson Valley, one or the other. And
Ooh, I
then
haven't done Fisher.
oh, Fisher's fun. I love Fisher.
Oh man.
Yeah, because then you get to go play around on some of the other shoots and stuff too.
Nice.
Um, and then in May we'll do a, beginner run, and I'll probably keep that simple and local. Maybe do Cleghorn or Heartbreak. I like doing Heartbreak on the beginner runs. That's a nice run.
It's really scenic.
Yeah, very scenic. Yeah, going from mountains to desert and Pontiac sluice in between. It's pretty fun. And then but this whole time my mind is just on the Rubicon, because we're taking 12 customers and probably 5 industry Jeeps through the Rubicon in June. We're doing it earlier this year because last year we got cheated out of doing it because of the wildfires. They shut down the forest the week we were supposed to do the trail.
Wasn't it a week before you guys were supposed to leave? They closed the forest.
No, they closed it like a month before.
Okay.
But they announced that the day that they were going to reopen it was after the date we were going to start. So we were pretty much out of it. But then in retrospect, after doing my homework on it, it turns out that they started letting people through the day we would have gone. But you just can't plan around
Yeah,
that.
you can't plan that, especially with a large group and
Yeah.
industry people. If you're flying by yourself, obviously you can. So the trip is in May this year, or June?
It's June.
Okay.
It's June, and so we've got, like I said, 12 customers going on it. And this is pretty much it kind of starts off invite only. We do keep a a reserve list of other customers that we know that their Jeeps are built and ready to go through with as little chance as possible as breaking down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of our biggest goals, is getting through there fast. In fact, normally we require a pre-run where we take them through we'll start off at Gold Mountain, we'll hit John Bull, and then finish off at Holcomb Creek. And if time permits, we'll do
It's
Dishpan,
right?
yeah, in reverse. Yeah, but
all in a day.
yeah, I've done that twice, and that's a fun run. I mean, when you're hustling through those trails. Um, but that's kind of the pace you need to be at in order to get through in order to get through the Rubicon. So it's kind of like a good prerequisite to getting your customers in the right mind frame of, hey, we need to move through this trail. We're not going to spot you over every 36-inch boulder. We're going to require that you understand how to set a line, how to place your tires correctly to get you the clearance you need. um, you know, how to properly use 2-foot driving techniques to where you're able to gas through the brake and get over some of these obstacles even without a locker.
Yeah, I've been every year before we do this trip, I always have a run up of customers that we have to prep and get ready to go. and a lot of it is vehicle prep. But you want to go out. Here's the thing: like you see all the guys with flat fenders and everything else. You don't need 40-inch tires and 1 tons to get through the Rubicon. What you do need is driver skill. So driver skill is paramount above everything. If you don't know what you're doing, I don't care how big of a check you can write for a rig. It's not going to work. You got to know what you're doing. And Billy, you can be a testament to that because you've seen it over the years too.
Sure.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, get out there and do it. But for sure, having patience and picking lines and knowing what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And
yeah,
it
we
makes the
we
trip a
had
lot more fun.
we had one customer a couple of years ago that ended up going on the Rubicon run, and we I think I'm not going to mention his name, but we thought his driver skill was probably better than it was. And one of the guides had to end up driving his Jeep through a large portion of it. And he was on a JK with 35s, and he ended up taking a bunch of damage. I think you know who I'm talking about, right,
Yeah,
Chris? Yeah.
yeah, I
So
do.
Chris does a really good job at screening customers and people who attend the runs to make sure that their rig is up to snuff. But the driver aspect of it is really hard to kind of pin down to see who knows what. That's why I think you vet people through the runs that they've been on, and that's how they get kind of the invite to go on maybe the not published runs. Because I know you and I have done some unpublished runs, and it's not for the faint of heart. But you do a good job, but that's a lot of stress.
It is. I mean, because after you're bringing it home, you just finished Big Sluice, and you're coming through, the bridge and the campground, and you hit a couple obstacles. I mean, there's some pretty significant obstacles even once you're into Rubicon Springs, and then you get to camp, and for most of the customers, they're hitting the water if there is water. And starting to enjoy themselves. And at that point, I'm sparking up the grills and just starting the meal and stuff. So it's a really long day. It's a lot of planning. I mean, over the years, I've simplified menus to where we could still provide a very good meal with multiple sides and have very little trash to take out, and and get it done in a decent time. And then once you're done with that, it's to bed, wake up, and then you're doing breakfast and doing coffee for 24, 28 people.
That's
It's
nothing for you.
yeah.
I know you've done coffee for 200 people.
Yeah, no, I've done that, but not on two percolators on a Coleman stove.
Right.
That's where the challenge comes in. But yeah, it's gotten every year I learn a little bit more about doing it, being a little bit more efficient, and carton eggs, shredded cheese, and pre-molded hash browns make great breakfast burritos. So
Yeah,
I cook all
eggs make great breakfast burritos, Mike.
yeah, yeah, and cook all the bacon ahead of time. I mean, there's just so much prep and planning going into it. But one of the fun things about that was in 2020, when the world was shut down, we had a run planned, and there was a lot of gray area of what we can and can't do, and not only from the forest aspect, but also from business aspects. And face it, Adventure Off Road has the powers that be that
Oh yeah. Oh,
that
we have to make sure we're COVID compliant. We have to.
yeah,
It's like, our customers don't. Most of our customers don't care about COVID compliancy. So
yeah, they don't, but it's still something we have to be
yeah,
sensitive to, and we have to appease the people that are writing the checks, and I appreciate that and all. So we weren't quite sure what was going to happen, and we ended up doing the trail after all. And we had, I think, uh, it was probably 9 customer Jeeps, and it was 4 industry Jeeps, plus mine and Mark's too. So we had a pretty decent group, and that was tough to figure all that out. And one of the things too is you didn't have hotels to stay at. and I wanted to go up early and do some fly fishing at my favorite lake, which is Crawley, just outside of Mammoth. And I went up like probably 4 days early and still took 2 days after the trail. And I think it was a total of 9 days. And of those 9 days, I pretty much slept in a tent 8 of the nights of those 9 days, and had a great 9 days little vacation. It was unbelievable. Uh, on the way home from the Rubicon that day, we stopped off at Crawley, which wasn't so nice to us the few days before the trip, and didn't do so well, and we had a killer day, and me and my buddy ended up with about I think it was about 26 trout. That were The smallest one was like 18 inches and the biggest one was like 26. So it was just a fantastic trip. So
Is that catch and release?
all catch and release.
All
Yeah,
catch and
yeah,
release.
yeah.
So I know we
Yes.
got to wrap up here pretty soon, but I do have one question. Is it true you haven't really ran the Rubicon until you run Old Sluice?
Old Sleuth. So I would say yes.
I agree.
There, there's parts of Old Sluice that really, I mean, it's really buggy territory. Most JKs can't get through it.
Took the JL through it.
Yeah. Oh, did you? Did
Oh
you have to
yeah.
winch? Did you have to winch a bit of it?
Oh, I know the guys with me will check me if I lie, but I think I might have had to get pulled off one spot in there. I think we almost all did, except for I don't think Sam had to get winched, but he was on 40s and 60s. But yeah, no, we made it through. And
Yeah.
that's tough. That's
Yeah.
tough up there.
Yeah. We've recovered a couple Jeeps through there, and I've walked it. I've never gone through Old Sluice in my Jeep. It's after seeing some of the, especially towards the bottom end, it's a pretty hairy section.
Yeah, we had a running joke that we would just say that because we did it, and then it really upset some of the influencers that didn't go up through there on their one trip to the Rubicon. So I like just saying it.
Certain tire companies won't give you free tires if you pop them.
Yeah.
So no,
Yeah.
no,
So,
no one shall be named. But yeah,
yeah. But
yeah,
yeah,
the
no,
influencers.
Old Sluice is legit.
Yeah.
Well, man,
Wait,
I really what?
you did doozy. You did doozy.
No, I
Was
didn't do
it
the
doozy?
doozy.
Which one did you do in second JK when it was stock? That everyone was
Oh,
giving you shit.
so
It-
that was in northern Nevada, up near Carson, but that place has been I promise to keep that place unnamed.
ah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
So,
I've seen the pictures.
yeah. So you could
driver,
say that
driver skill,
you
driver
could
skill
say
will
that I
get
took
you.
a jock stay JK through there, but we sold it right afterwards.
Oh yeah, she hurt. She was hurt, but
Yeah, it had like 1,400 miles on it, and we got rid of it.
so, but it did it.
But it looked like 114,000 miles on the bottom of it,
Oh yeah, no, it looked like it got drugged through a minefield.
because basically
So,
what happened.
do we have anything else to cover? We're right about the. We're a little over an hour. So,
Yeah,
what else? What else do we got?
that's about it, man. Actually I really enjoyed this episode a lot. I felt like one, I got to learn more about whiskey and bourbon,
We both
and
did.
I'm gonna go be an antiquer and hit up these old shops and see if I can find an old bottle.
All right.
That's not how
Yeah,
it works,
that's just
but
not it.
no, I mean, if you can find the really like old liquor store that has a bunch of dusty bottles on the shelf,
That's true.
like no, there's guys that they don't know what they have. I got a bottle of Eagle Rare up in Northern California for like $35. It's like $100 bottle. So
There you
you can
go.
find it. You just got to know what you're looking
You know,
for.
Billy, go out and hunt yourself some bottle and bonds. Look
Yeah.
for
There
the
we
old
go.
grandpa bottle and bond. It's under $20, and if you could find it, it'll be one of the best bottles you had.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There it
Yeah,
is.
no, I really enjoyed it. I appreciate you coming on. It was really cool just to hear so many different aspects of what Mike and I always talk shit about, you know. You're out there putting it together and helping people and teaching the new crowd that's coming in, and one keeping Mike in business, and
Making it
keep
Yeah.
work.
keeping our hobby alive.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is
and
Chris.
promoting, always
Chris is
promoting safe
responsible.
wheeling.
Yeah, responsible. Yeah, Chris is responsible for getting new people into the hobby firsthand. So, just like you said, they need a guiding hand on the trail. Chris, you're it. So, um, I guess this is the outro then. So here
That's
we
it.
are.
Take us out of here, Mike. Take us out.
I'll take us out. So, Chris, thanks for joining us. Adventure Trail Team, literally as you would say it out, Adventure Trail Team on Instagram. Thanks for bringing the Jefferson 18 year. It's old enough to vote. It's old enough to go to war. It's also very, very expensive and tasted very good. The McKenna was fantastic. Um, the what else do we got over here? That
The
was
Evan Williams
the
bottle
Evan
and bond.
Williams bottled and bond, $14. Not a bad
Woodbridge.
bottle. Not a bad bottle for $14. I wouldn't throw it out of the bar. Chris, you and I are good friends. I really appreciate you. Thanks for coming on. Billy, it's always good for us to get together and do these things. Thanks
For
again.
sure.
Publicly thank our producer Kaylee. She's the one who helps put this shit show together. Couldn't get this done without her. And thanks a lot. And we'll see you on the next episode. Go ahead and take us
Peace.
out with the outro music.